Week 6. Week 6 already. Crazy how time flies when you are doing the work. So, still in the regulation phase. We're talking about the brain this week. How we can improve our focus, decision decision making, and reducing your mental load. So, we've done a lot. Okay, we've done some good solid work. Now we're going to look at your brain, because your nervous system isn't just about your body. It shows up in how you make decisions, how you focus, your ability to think clearly under pressure, which as a first responder can mean life or death. You know how important this is. So we're going to look at reducing decision fatigue, sharpening up your focus, and clearing your mental load so your nervous system isn't just full of noise all the time. And then you can actively use that extra capacity to do what matters. Okay, because we only have so much capacity and we need to use it wisely. If it's all taken up by fluff and mental chatter, then it's wasted. So, science. Decision fatigue. So your brain is making thousands of decisions daily. It's constantly being bombarded with stimulus, and it has to organize it, it has to filter it, has to figure out what's important, what's not important, what to save for later, what to completely disregard, and what needs emergency dealing with right now in the moment. And every time we have to make a decision like that, it's costing us glucose and willpower. Under stress, your prefrontal cortex, that bit that we talked about, that logic and planning, it shuts down. And your amygdala, your lizard brain as such, the primal part of you, it takes over, puts you in fight or flight because you need to survive. And most of the time, survival cases, as we were years and years ago, meant outrunning a tiger, not planning something or using logic. You just had to physically act. Nowadays, it's not so much the case. But research is showing that if you're making a decision when you're fatigued, you tend to default to impulsive decisions or completely avoidant choices. So you're not choosing the best thing. You're choosing based on what your nervous system is influencing you to choose. So in you guys, first responders, that's errors or withdrawal, neither of which are helpful. Now, focus isn't just mental, it's part of your nervous system regulation. So when your system is hyper aroused, so you're in that sympathetic dominant mode, your focus will scatter. And then when you're under aroused, so your parasympathetic mode is exhausted, your focus will drift. So we want a sweet spot. We want a balanced arousal. So mental load. We have that invisible mental load, especially for women. So planning, remembering, organising, staying on top of everything, running the household, looking after the family, all of those things, it taxes your nervous system constantly. You don't get a break. Being a woman is hard. It is hard. It's even harder as a first responder. So it's constantly keeping your cortisol elevated, even off shift. So if you have skills, decision-making skills, then they can reduce friction and make it easier to make decisions, particularly around basic routines and things like we worked on last week. If you can use your journal skills, you can then reflect and you can unload and you can close mental loops. And if you can build in your rituals, so your recovery work, that's going to help conserve cognitive energy. So this is a trainable skill. Okay, if you have good skills, you can enhance your physiology and you can make your physiology work for you. So, let's say you're on shift and you're being bombarded, you've got radios, alarms, people, noise, and then you're off shift. You're at home, you've got your family, you've got your relationships, you're trying to figure out what to eat, you're trying to make time to go to the gym, you've got people from work calling you because you've got to go and do an emergency shift, whatever it may be. It's hard to focus. It doesn't come down to discipline. It's got nothing to do with discipline. It's all about bandwidth. Everyone has limited amount of mental bandwidth. When your nervous system is already stretched to capacity, every single choice you have to make is just another drain. So you can see yourself standing in front of the fridge, staring, disassociating, sitting there scrolling on your phone when you should be resting or doing something useful. And you know you're doing it, but you can't bring yourself to do anything else. Or maybe you've had enough, you can't stand to make another fucking decision, and when your other half asks you what you want for dinner, you just snap, because you've hit that overload point. So what we want to do this week is try and reclaim some bandwidth. We want to put some systems in place to help train your skills and free up your nervous system from all this constant background noise. Okay. It's mad when you think about it, how much background noise we have in modern day life. Okay. Phones going off all the time, constant notifications. No one's ever really switched off. Yet our brain hasn't evolved to cope with those demands. We just don't have the capacity for it. If you think about your grandparents, they didn't have all this shit on them, and they were able to cope much better. They could concentrate, they could focus, they could do what they needed to do because they didn't have that high level of mental load like we have nowadays. So we've got to learn how to manage it. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do a mental load audit. So at the end of every day, you're going to do a little bit of a journal prompt. What's on your mind right now? You're just going to write, get it all out. I like to call this a brain dump because you are literally taking everything out of your head and putting it on a page. It helps to close mental loops and just shifts it out of your head onto a page, and it reduces the mental load. It is the easiest way to reduce the mental load. Okay. You're going to implement something called the 2-minute rule. So we have all these little things that need doing every day. These little things like, oh, I need to go take the bin out. I need to put the laundry away. Oh, I need to turn the dishwasher on. Oh, I need to take the stuff out of the freezer to defrost for dinner. You know, all these stupid little things. And they build up. And then we don't do them. And then we get stressed out because we haven't done them. But if something will take 2 minutes, do it. Okay? 2-minute rule. If something's going to take you 2 minutes or less, you do it immediately because that closes an open loop and it reduces the stress signal. It also helps create momentum. Most people wait for motivation to do things. Motivation is bullshit. It's just a feeling. It's an emotion. It comes and goes. Sometimes you're motivated, sometimes you're not. In order to do stuff and make progress, you need momentum. And momentum only comes from doing. But if we start with small things, something that takes less than 2 minutes, that gets the ball rolling. Then we can do a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. Okay. Focus blocks. So 90-minute cycles. We talked about 90-minute cycles for sleep because it works really well. But 90-minute cycles for focus and getting shit done also works really well because we're tapping into that rhythm. Now, I've given you my focus protocol here, which takes you through the 1 month day principle and how to actually create a flow cycle. So we talked about flow with respect to recovery. We said struggle, release, flow, recover. That's the flow cycle. If we can actually learn to work using that cycle, then we can enter flow and we can be in deep focus and we can get more done. So learning to work in 90-minute cycles will help loads. So you can use that protocol. It's all outlined there. I'm not going to explain it to you now. It's all there. Just click the button and follow it. So working for 90 minutes, or it doesn't have to be working, it could be just focusing on something that needs doing for 90 minutes with no distractions, and then going and having a mini reset, a little bit of a release, so a walk, breathing, stretching, whatever it is, and then repeating the process will help. Okay, you'll get more done rather than being a scattergun and trying to do a million different things at once and then inevitably doing nothing. You just focus in for 90 minutes. You have a little bit of a break. You do another 90 minutes. So you can use this whether it's for work-based stuff. So let's say you've got to do your paperwork, incident reports, all of that works fantastically for that. Or for home stuff. Let's say you need to clean the house. Use this. Works. You've got more chance of getting into flow. You're working with a natural rhythm and you're going to get stuff done. Plus you're training your focus. You're teaching yourself how to focus and how to be more effective and more productive. And then we've got a couple more things. 4 decision rule. So every day, 4 things that matter. Okay, we tend to use 4s in Project Tempest. We've got the power games, which is your daily habits, 4 points a day. We've got the daily 4, which is about building balance. 4 important things that matter. Okay, that's enough to be significant without being overwhelming. Everything else can be automated or delegated. Okay, just leave it. What this does is it protects your prefrontal cortex and your mental bandwidth, and it makes you more efficient by shrinking things down and forcing you to focus on 4 things only. Okay, so your 4 things that day could be, let's say, based on what we've done here, it could be a nervous system snack. It could be building your plate, your gut-friendly plate. It could be your recovery protocol, your hour-long recovery protocol, and then it could be a conversation with your partner because that's important to you. Whatever it is, just simplifying what's most important for you to do every day. And then you'll find you're actually more efficient. People say, oh, I've got to do more than 4 things a day. My to-do list is 60 things long. But how many of those 60 things are you actually going to get done when you're sitting looking at it and panicking and procrastinating and getting all wound up? Nothing. Whereas if you do these 4 things, you do another 4 things the next day, and another 4 things the next day. Over the course of the week, look at how much you're going to get done. And these are going to be the things that matter to you as well, the important things that move the needle, either because you're taking care of yourself or you're working on a project, whatever it may be. I know a lot of you, you do courses and you do extra work and things so that you get promoted up to the next level as such. Doing that work, okay? This works for that. Journaling for clarity. So what would reduce my stress right now? Journal's one of the best tools for reducing mental bandwidth. It really is, because if it's in your head, then it's in your head. If it's on paper, then it's not in your head. So using your journal, simple as it sounds, helps so much. And then we've got supplements. I always like to give you supplement options because people ask me about it a lot. I've tried nootropics. I've tried all sorts of focus stuff. Some work, some don't. A lot of it comes down to how well have you slept. And caffeine's always the ultimate one. So good old cup of coffee doesn't hurt, particularly when you're in a focus block and you're doing some focus work. So just be mindful of what you're taking with that. And again, don't take anything that's going to disrupt your sleep cycle because that's going to be more important. So I've hit you with quite a lot there. We're going to summarize it and we're going to kind of build it into a little toolkit for you. So brain is part of the nervous system. If it's overloaded, then your body's going to feel overloaded. The two things can't be separated, okay? They work together. So your mission this week is to do a mental load audit. So use your journal effectively to get out of your head. Test a focus block using the focus protocol to get some stuff done. It might even be things that have been hanging over you for a while that you've needed to do and haven't had chance. Normal stuff, like, oh, you need to paint a room in your house, something like that. Get it done. Use the focus protocol. And this is slightly off track, but the other thing, when you use something like this and you're setting it up, it turns it into a bit of an experience and it gives you a bit of novelty. It's less boring. So use it. And then try the 4 decision rule for the day. Okay. So to summarize, journal, get out of your head, get it on paper. Just what's on your mind. Brain dump it all. Use a focus block. So use the tool I've given you there. You'll see when you go through it. It's essentially teaching you to pick a task, micro step it down to its easiest starting point as such, and then laying out what needs doing. So for example, let's say you were going to paint a room. You might micro task it down into, I'm going to get paint. I'm going to get a paintbrush. I'm going to cover the floor. I'm going to put masking tape around the edges. Each one of these is a small micro step that contributes to the whole task. And if you can go one by one by one by one, you generate the momentum and then you can get the task done rather than it being this massive thing that just seems impossible to do. You do it bit by bit. And you do it in 90-minute blocks. And then we go into the little resets. We just repeat. But it's all laid out for you in the protocol, so you'll see when you go through it. And then implementing the 4 decision rule. So what are the 4 most important decisions or things that you're going to get done? Everything else can just be left or delegated or postponed. Okay? So test that this week. Play with it and see how you get on. And then track it, as always, in your tracker. Track it in your journal. Any questions, you drop them in the Q&A and we'll see how we get on with this.